The piece I chose was thank you. The piece I chose was Praying Mantra by Wangechi Mutu. Now, this was made in 2006. This was made in 2006 CE with mixed medium, which is collage, on Mylar, and it had a theme of converging cultures. Now, this piece, I think, is complex in a multitude of ways. Like, you look at it and you think, wow, that's a lot of stuff on there. And then also you go into the backstory and you go, wow, that's a lot of stuff there too. It contains many contrasting colors and shapes. It's expressionist, which was a modernist movement emerging in the early 20th century from Europe. They used it to convey emotional experiences along with subjective perspectives instead of physical reality. And they used many mediums to accomplish this, like visual arts, literature, music, theater, and architecture. Now, this piece itself is very colorful. Well, it's fairly colorful. It's got a wide color palette, but still maintains a sense of unity through the repetition of patterns and colors throughout the piece. There's also a lot of little details that I think enhance the meaning to this piece, which is awesome. But what's the function here? What is the purpose of this piece? What are we trying to convey? Well, we're trying to convey, function is, to question gender, sexuality, and cultural identity. The piece itself focuses on hybridity, how the mixing of cultures of the colonized, the colonizer, can result in a new thing that often disrupts the understanding of cultural identity, which allows us to further ponder on possibilities. There's exoticism as well in this piece, which is described as the quality of being attractive or striking through being colorful or unusual. And of course, female subjectivity, which is a feminist theory that is about the way women experience and understand themselves in relation to societal norms and power structures. Mixed medias are used to create this piece, like collage. It creates a piece centering on, as I said, female subjectivity, hybridity, and the mixing of cultures to create a new third space. It evidently, based on the anatomy, depicts a female creature reclining on a blanket decorated in geometric patterns. This blanket is actually what we now know to be a cuba cloth, which is a traditional fabric that I will go on in a different slide. In the background, there's a tree, and it's it's nice and blue, indigo, and it envelops the figure, reinforcing links between history and fiction. It's got magenta leaves, and the figure itself crosses her legs in front of her, her right hand positioned behind her head, which wears a cone-like crown. She also is seen with skin that mirrors the color of the leaves. It's the repetition. And it camouflages her a bit as she stares at the viewer, like I am. And in her left hand, we can see her holding a green snake, which thus links her to Eve. Wow. Now, Wangechi's work was heavily shaped by complex history and issues like the rights of women that came into the fore at the end of the century. There was also colonialism in Africa, which began in the 19th century and wrested power from Africans to benefit the European nation through enforcing strict military and administrative controls. Some other things, many social and political issues emerged as a result of the waning of colonialism in the mid-20th century. And then the title, Praying Mantra, is a reference to the insect, praying mantis, which, it's resembles the figure somewhat, with its bent legs and camouflage. And yet, despite the references to this sexual cannibal, it is also fairly vulnerable to our eyes, almost suggesting that it is a victim to be preyed upon by the mantras. The fictional environment that Mutu creates within this piece is natural, even primitive. It's enticing and disturbing as she invites us to explore racist stereotypes about the African female body as explicitly sexual, dangerous, and aesthetically deformed in relation to Western standards. Possibly, the figure is preying upon the viewer's own fears or desires. Now, the blanket. The blanket is actually a Cuba cloth, which was, traditionally it had two uses, one of which being funerary regalia for noblewomen, but it was also used by pregnant women. It was made by pregnant women who were pregnant with, like, a king's heir or something like that. And they used this in rituals surrounding the birth of the children, which was interesting, I guess. And it was made, by Bouchon women, as we know from Joseph Cornet. I don't know who this guy is, but he's my source. Now, in the piece itself, we see this cloth being used as a blanket by the figure, and I believe this maybe connects the figure further to womanhood and motherhood, in a way. Now, Wangechi Mutu is a 15-year-old Kenyan visual artist born on the 22nd of 1972 in June. They're from the contemporary art period, started in the 1970s. Wow. So they were born only 2 years later. How interesting. She's known widely for, her collages, but she also does so many things, okay? She has paintings, she has sculptures, films, performance works, so on. But she's mostly known for her collages, which typically depict female figures, which are often part human but also part animal, plant, or even machine. And though she was born in Kenya, she also has a studio there in Nairobi, but she also has a studio in Brooklyn, New York. And she's lived there for about 20 years. She likes to split her time between the two studios, but along with the mediums of what she does, she has 7 books. She's very versatile, which is awesome. And one of her reoccurring themes concerned the violence and colonial domination in Africa, more specifically in Kenya. She often incorporates the female body, more specifically an imagined African body, subjected to sexism and racism on a global scale, into her works. Now, she did have a couple collabs. One that I thought was interesting was the collaboration with Maria Cornejo in a museum exhibition in 2023. They also did another collaboration in 2014 to mark the 15th anniversary of the brand. Cornejo's, that is. But it was kind of less of a collab and more of a poll. And so Wangechi was one of 15 artists that participated in a poll. That was pretty much it for that. But Cornejo had been a longtime fan of Wangechi, and they created an exclusive dress with a digital print of the history of different classes with urine tumors, which is a piece that Wangechi made. But the dress itself is made of silk. Very fancy, very interesting, very cool. One of the other pieces of Wangechi's that I think is very interesting to look at is called Misguided Little Unforgivable Hierarchies, which is a 2005 piece made using ink, acrylic, collage, and contact paper on mylar. It's 81 times 52 inches. Wow. And I think it's very interesting overall. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but all the different pieces of this piece, coming together, make it look really odd, in a good way, of course. It incorporates a variety of textures, along with unique and outright undoable poses. I think if I tried to do that pose, I would be very, very mangled. I just think it's very distinctly Wangechi's. You look at this and you think, yeah, that seems right. Now, why did I choose this piece, though? Or Praying Mantra. So, when you look at this piece, it draws you in. all the different colors and patterns and like textures put together are just so cool. It really makes you want to study it, even from afar, where it may appear just like as a blob. It's just so exceedingly interesting to look at. Everything within the piece works really well together, and overall it's just incredibly pleasing to look at. And even like the oddities, every different part of it makes you want to learn about it and why it's there. It makes you want to delve into the mind that created it. And that is why I chose Wangechi Mutu's Praying Mantra.